Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. The spiritual place of transcendental pastimes of Krishna is portrayed in the second verse. The super excellent station of Krishna, which is known as Gokula, has thousands of petals and a corolla like that of a lotus sprouted from a part of his infinitary aspect, the whole of the leaves being the actual abode of Krishna. The whole of that transcendental lotus is the realm wherein dwells Krishna. It is the hexagonal figure, the abode of the indwelling, predominated and predominating aspect of the Absolute. Like a diamond, the central supporting figure of self-luminous Krishna stands as the transcendental source of all potencies. The holy name, consisting of 18 transcendental letters, is manifested in a hexagonal figure with sixfold divisions. The whole of that eternal realm, Gokula, is the hexagonal abode of Krishna. Its petals are the abodes of gopis, who are part and parcel of Krishna, to whom they are most lovingly devoted and are similar in essence. The petals shine beautifully like so many walls. The extended leaves of that lotus are the garden-like dham, that is spiritual abode of Sri Radhika, the most beloved of Krishna. The surrounding external plane of Gokula is described in this verse. There is a mysterious quadrangular place named Swetadipa surrounding the outskirts of Gokula. Swetadipa is divided into 4 parts on all sides. The abode of Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna and Aniruddha and are separately located in each of these 4 parts. These 4 divided abodes are enveloped by the fourfold human requirements such as piety, wealth, passion and liberation, as also by the 4 Vedas, namely Rig, Sam, Yajur and Atharva, which deal with the mantra and which are the basis of achievements of the fourfold mundane requirements. 10 tridents are fixed in the 10 directions, including the zenith and nadir. The 8 directions are decorated with 8 jewels of Mahapadma, Padma, Shankha, Makara, Kachapa, Mukunda, Kunda and Nila. They are 10 protectors, Dikpalas of the 10 directions, in the form of mantra. The associates of the hues of blue, yellow, red and white, and the extraordinary potencies bearing the names of Bimala, etc., shine on all sides.
The Lord of Gokula is the transcendental supreme Godhead, the own self of eternal ecstasies. He is the superior of all superiors and busily engaged in the enjoyment of the transcendental realm and have no association with his mundane potency. Krishna never consorts with his illusory energy. Still, her connection is not entirely cut off from the absolute truth. When he intends to create the material world, the amorous pastimes, in which he engaged by consorting with his own spiritual chit potency, Rama, by casting his glance at the divine energy in the shape of sending his time energy in an auxiliary activity. The secondary process of association with Maya is described. Rama Devi, the spiritual chit potency, beloved consort of the Supreme Lord, in the allegoratrix of all entities. The divine plenary portion of Krishna creates the mundane world. At creation there appears a divine halo of the nature of his own subjective portion, Swamsha. This halo is divine Shambhu, the masculine symbol of manifested emblem of the Supreme Lord. This halo is the dim, dwelling reflection of the supreme eternal effulgence. This masculine symbol in the subjective portion of divinity who functions as progenitor of the mundane world, subject of the supreme regulatrix neity. The conceiving potency is in regard to mundane creation makes her appearance out of the supreme regulatrix. She is Maya, the limited, non-absolute apara potency, the symbol of mundane feminine productivity. The intercourse of these two brings forth the facility of pervaded cognition, the reflection of the seat of the procreative desire of the Supreme Lord. All offspring of the consort of the great Lord Maheshwara of this mundane world are of the nature of the embodiment of the mundane masculine and feminine generative organs. The person embodying in the material causes principle, namely the great Lord of the mundane world, Maheshwara Shambhu, in the form of the male generative organ, is joined to his female consort by limited energy, Maya, as an efficient causal principle. The Lord of the world, Mahavishnu, is manifest in him by his subjective portion in the form of his glance.
The Lord of the mundane world, Mahavishnu, possesses thousands and thousands of heads, eyes, hands. He is the source of thousands of avatars in his thousands of subjective portions. He is the creator of thousands of individual souls. The same Mahavishnu is spoken of by the name of Narayana in this mundane world. From that eternal person has sprung the vast expanse of water of the spiritual causal ocean. The subjective portion of Sankarshana, who abides in Paravyoma, the above supreme Purusha, with thousands of subjective portions, reposes in the state of divine sleep, Yoga Nidra, in the waters of the spiritual causal ocean. The spiritual seeds of Sankarshana, existing in the pores of skin of Mahavishnu, are born as so many golden sperms. These sperms are covered with 5 great elements. The same Mahavishnu entered into each universe as his own separate subjective portions. The divine portions that entered into each universe are possessed of his majestic extension. That is, they are the eternal universal soul Mahavishnu, possessing thousands of heads. The same Mahavishnu created Vishnu from his left limb, Brahma, the first progenitor of beings, from his right limb, and from the space between his 2 eyebrows, Shambhu, the divine masculine, manifested halo.
Text 16. The function of Shambhu in relation to Jivas is that this universe, enshrining the mundane egoistic principle, has originated from Shambhu. Thereupon the same great personal Godhead, assuming the threefold form of Vishnu, Prajapati and Shambhu, entering into the mundane universe, plays the pastime of preservation, creation and destruction of this world. This pastime is contained in the mundane world, hence it being perverted, the Supreme Lord, identical with Mahavishnu, prefers to consort with the goddess Yoganidra, the constituent of his own spiritual chit potency, full of ecstatic trance of eternal bliss, appertaining to his own divine personality. When Vishnu, lying in the ocean of milk, wills to create this universe, a golden lotus springs from his navel pit. The golden lotus, with its stem in the abode of Brahma, representing Brahma Lok or Satyalok. Before their conglomeration, the primary element in their nascent state remained originally separated entities. Non-application of the conglomeration process in the cause of their separate existence. Divine Mahavishnu, primal Godhead, through association with his own spiritual chit potency, moved Maya, and by the application of the conglomerating principle, created those different entities in their state of cooperation. And after that he himself consorted with Yoganidra by way of his eternal dalliance with his spiritual chit potency. By conglomerating all these separate entities, he manifested the innumerable mundane universe and himself entered into the inmost recess of every extended conglomerate. At that time, those jivas who had lain dormant during the catalysm were awakened.
The same jiva is eternal and is for eternity and without a beginning, joined to the Supreme Lord by the tie of an eternal kinship. He is transcendental spiritual potency. The divine lotus which springs from the navel pit of Vishnu is in every way related by the spiritual tie with all souls and is the origin of four-faced Brahma versed in the four Vedas. On coming out of the lotus, Brahma, being guided by the divine potency, turned his mind to the act of creation under the impulse of previous impressions. But he could see nothing but darkness in every direction. Then the goddess of learning, Saraswati, the divine consort of the Supreme Lord, said thus to Brahma, who saw nothing but gloom in all directions. O Brahma, this mantra, namely, Kling Krishnaya Govindaya Gopi Janabalabhaya Swaha, will assuredly fulfill your heart's desire. O Brahma, do thou practice spiritual association by means of this mantra, and then all your desires will be fulfilled.
Brahma, being desirous of satisfying Govinda, practiced the cultural acts for Krishna in Goloka, Lord of Shwetadeepa, for a long time. His meditation ran thus: there exists a divine lotus of a thousand petals, augmented by millions of filaments in the transcendental land of Goloka. On its whorl there exists a great divine throne on which is seated Sri Krishna, the form of eternal effulgence of transcendental bliss, playing on his divine flute, resonant with the divine sound. With his lotus mouth, he is worshipped by his amorous milkmaids with their respective subjective portions and extensions, and also by his external energy, who stays outside, embodying all mundane qualities. Then Gayatri, mother of the Vedas, being made manifest, that is, imparted by the divine sound of the flute of Sri Krishna, entered into the lotus mouth of Brahma, born from himself through his 8 ear holes. The lotus-born Brahma, having received the Gayatri sprung from the flute song of Sri Krishna, attained the status of the twice-born, having been initiated by the supreme primal preceptor, Godhead himself. Enlightened by the recollection of that Gayatri, embodying the 3 Vedas, Brahma became acquainted with the expanse of the ocean of truth. Then he worshipped Sri Krishna, the essence of all Vedas, with this hymn: I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, yielding all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock's feather, with the figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, around whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers, beautified with moon locket, whose 2 hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Sham Sundar is eternally manifest. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of this transcendental figure possess in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure devotional service of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha, yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayam by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between the potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe, at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore.
I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men, who are imbued with devotion, sing the mantra suktas told by the Vedas, by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own. I worship the Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own Ram Goloka, with Radha resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities in the company of her confidants, Sakhis, embodiments of her extensions of her body form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shyamasundara, Krishna himself, with inconceivable innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts, with an eye of devotion tinged with the salve of love. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the forms of Rama, Narasimha, Vamana, etc., as his subjective persons. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose effulgence is the source of non-differentiated Brahman, mentioned in the Upanishads, being differentiated from the infinity of colors of mundane universe, appears as the indivisible, infinite, limitless truth.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is the absolute substantive principle, being the ultimate entity in the form of support of all existence, whose external potency embodies the threefold mundane qualities, sattva, rajas, and tamas, and diffuses the Vedic knowledge regarding the mundane world. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose glory ever triumphantly dominates the mundane world by the activity of his own pastimes, being reflected in the mind of recollecting souls as a transcendental entity of ever blissful cognitive rasa. Lowest of all is located Devi Dham, mundane world. Next above it is Mahesh Dham, abode of Mahesh. Above Mahesh Dham is placed Hari Dham, abode of Hari, and above them is located Krishna's own realm named Goloka. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who has allotted their respective authorities to the rulers of those graded realms. The external potency, Maya, who is as of the nature of the shadow of his chit potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying agency of this mundane world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. Just as milk is transformed into curd by the action of acids, but yet the effect curd is neither the same as nor different from its cause, milk, so I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state of Shambhu is a transformation for the performance of the work of destruction.
The light of one candle being communicated to other candles, although it burns separately in them, is the same in its quality. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who exhibits himself equally in the same mobile manner in his various manifestations. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who is assuming his own great subjective form, who bears the name of Shesha, replete with the all-accommodating potency, and reposing in the causal ocean with the infinity of the world, in the pores of his hair, enjoys creative sleep, yoga nidra. Brahma and the other lords of the mundane worlds, appearing from the pores of hair of Mahavishnu, remain alive as long as the duration of one acceleration of the latter, Mahavishnu. I adore the primal Lord Govinda, of whose subjective personality Mahavishnu is the portion of portion. I adore the primal Lord Govinda, from whom the separated subjective portion, Brahma, receives his power for the regulation of the mundane world, just as the sun manifests some portion of his own light in all the effulgent gems that bear the names of Surikant, etc. I adore the primal Lord Govinda, whose lotus feet are always held by Ganesha upon the pair of tumuli protruding from his elephant head, in order to obtain power for his function of destroying all obstacles in the path of progress of the three worlds.
The three worlds are composed of the 9 elements: fire, earth, ether, water, air, direction, time, soul, and mind. I adore the primal Lord Govinda, from whom they originate, in whom they exist, and into whom they enter at the time of the universal cataclysm. The sun, who is the king of all the planets, full of infinite effulgence, the image of the good soul, is at the eye of this world. I adore the primal Lord Govinda, in portions of whose order the sun performs his journey, mounting the hill of time. I adore the primal Lord Govinda, by whose conferred power are maintained the manifested potencies that are found to exist of all virtues, all vices, the Vedas, the penances, and all jivas, from Brahma to the meanest insect. I adore the primal Lord Govinda, who burns up to their roots all fruitive activities of those who are limbered with devotion, and impartiality ordains for each the die enjoyment of the fruits of one's activities, of all those who talk in the path of work in accordance with the chain of their previously performed works, no less in the case of the tiny insects that bears in the name of Indragopa than in that of Indra, king of the Devas. I adore the primal Lord Govinda, the meditators of whom, by meditating upon him under the sway of wrath, amorous passion, natural friendly love, fears, parental affection, delusion, reverence, and willing service, attain in bodily forms befitting of nature of their contemplation.
I worship that transcendental seat known as Svetadvipa, where our loving consorts, the Lakshmis, in their unalloyed spiritual essence, practice the amorous service of the Supreme Lord Krishna as their only lover, where every tree is a transcendental purpose tree, where the soil is a purpose gem, all water is nectar, every word is a song, every gate is a dance, the flute is the favorite attendant, effulgence is full of transcendental bliss, and the supreme spiritual entities are all enjoyable and tasty, where numberless milk cows always emit transcendental oceans of milk, where there is an eternal existence of transcendental time, who is ever present and without past or future, and hence is not subject to the quality of passing away even for the space of half a moment. That realm is known as Goloka, only to a very few self-realized souls in this world. On hearing these hymns containing the essence of the truth, the Supreme Lord Krishna said to Brahma, Brahma, if you experience the inclination to create offspring by being endowed with the real knowledge of the glory of Godhead, listen, my beloved, from me to this science set forth in the following 5 shlokas. When the pure spiritual experience is excited by means of cognition and service bhakti, super excellent, unalloyed devotion, characterized by love for Godhead, is awakened towards Krishna, the beloved of all souls. The highest devotion is attained by slow degrees by the method of constant endeavor for self-realization with the help of scriptural evidence, theistic conduct, and perseverance in practice. These preliminary practices of devotion, sadhana bhakti, are conducive to the realization of loving devotion, than whom there is no superior well-being, who goes hand in hand with the attainment of the exclusive state of supreme bliss, and who can lead to myself.
Abandoning all meritorious performances, serve me with faith. The realization will correspond to the nature of one's faith. The people of the world act ceaselessly in pursuance of some ideal. By meditating on me by means of those deeds, one will obtain devotion characterized by love in the shape of the supreme service. Listen, O Vidhi, I am the seed, that is the fundamental principle of this world of animate and inanimate objects. I am Pradhan, the substance of matter. I am Prakriti, material cause, and I am Purusha, efficient cause. This fiery energy that belongs specially to the Brahman, that inheres in you, has also been conferred by me. It is by bearing this fiery energy that you regulate this phenomenal world of animate and inanimate objects. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sakchirananda Vigraha Nadiradi Govinda Sarvakaranam Sahasrabhadrakapalam Sokulakyam Mahapalam Tatarnikaram Tadhama Tarantam Shasambhavam Karnikaram Mahadyantram Shatkonam Vajrakilakam Sharanga Shatpadhistanam Prakita Purushena Cha Premananda Mahananda Asina Vastitam Hiyad Jyoti Rupena Manuna Kama Bijena Sangatam Tatkinjal Kam Tadangshanam Tatpatrani Shriyamapi Chatur Asram Tatparitaha Shrita Deepakyam Adbhutam Chatur Asram Chatur Murtesh Chatur Dhama Chatushkritam Chatur Bir Purushartaischa Chatur Bir Hetubir Vitam Shulara Dasha Biranadam Urdvado Didvivikshapi Ashtabhir Nidibhir Justam Ashtabhi Siddhibhistata Manu Rupaishta Dashabhir Dikpale Paritovratam Shamar Gauraishta Raktaishta Shuklaishta Parasha Darshabahi Shobitam Shaktibhistabir Adbhutabi Samantataha Evam Jyotirmayo Deva Sadananda Paratparaha Atmaramasya Tasyasti Prakrityana Samagamaha Maya Ramamanasya Naviyogastayasaha Atmana Ramaya Reme Tyakvakalam Shashikshaya Niyati Sarama Devi Tatpriya Tadvasham Tada Talingam Bhagavan Shambhura Jyoti Rupa Sanatanaha Yayoni Sapara Shakti Kamo Bijam Mahaddarehe Linga Yonyatmika Jata Ima Maheshwari Prajaha Shaktiman Purusha Soyam Linga Rupi Maheshwaraha Tasmin Avirabu Linge Mahavishnur Jagatpatihi Sahasra Shirsha Purusaha Sahasraksa Sahasrapad Sahasrabahur Vishvatma Sahasramsha Sahasrasuhu Narayana Sabhagavan Apastasmat Sanatanad Avirasit Kararnarno Nidhi Sankarshanatmakaha Yoga Nidram Gatastasmin Sahasram Shasrayam Mahan Tad Roma Bilajaleshu Bijam Sankarshanasya Cha Haimanyandari Chatani Mahabhuta Vratani Tu Pratyandam Eva Mekam Shad Vishati Swayam Sahasra Murda Vishvatma Mahavishnu Sanatanaha Vaman Gad Asrajad Vishnum Dakshinan Gat Prajapatim Jyotirlinga Mayam Shambhum Korcha Deshat Avasrajat Ahankarat Bakam Vishvam Tasman Etad Vyajayata Atataristri Viderve Sher Lilan Udvahata Kila Yoga Nidra Bhagavati Tasya Shrireva Sangata Shashikshayam Tato Nabhes Tasya Padmam Vanirya Yao Tanalam Hema Nalinam Brahmano Lokamadbhutam Tadvani Purvarudani Karanani Parasparam Samavaya Prayogachcha Bibinani Pratak Pratak Chit Shaksha Sajjamano Ta Bhagavan Adi Purushaha Yo Jayan Mayaya Devo Yoga Nidra Makalpayat Yo Jayidva Tutanyeva Pravivesha Swayam Guham Guham Pravishte Tasmimstu Jivatma Pratibudyate Sanityo Nitya Sambandha Prakritischa Paraivasa Evam Sarvatma Sambandam Nabhyam Padmam Harera Bhut Tatra Brahmad Babad Bhuyash Chaturvedi Chaturmukha Sanjato Bhagavach Chaktya Tatkalam Kilak Choditaha Sashikshayam Matim Chakre Purva Samskara Samskritaha Dadarsha Kevalam Tvantam Nanyat Kimapi Sarvataha Uvacha Puratastasmai Tasya Divya Saraswati Kama Krishnaya Govinda He Gopi Jana Ityapi Valabhaya Priya Vanir Mantram Te Dasyati Priyam Tapastram Tape Etena Tavasiddhir Bhavishyati Atate Pe Sasuchiram Prinan Govindam Avyayam Shveta Dvipa Patim Krishnam Golokastam Paratparam Prakritya Gunarupinya Rupinya Parupasitam Sahasradala Sampanne Koti Kinjalka Brimhite Bhumish Chintamanis Tatra Karnikare Mahasane Samasinam Chidanandam Jyoti Rupam Sanatanam Shabda Brahma Mayam Venum Barayantam Mukham Bhuje Vilasanigana Vratam Swashwar Ankshar Abhishtutam Atavenu Nanadasya Trayi Murti Mayi Gatihi Spuranti Praviveshashu Mukhabjani Swayambhuvaha Gayatriam Gayatastasmad Adigatya Sarojajaha Samskritaschari Gununa Dvijatam Agamattataha Triya Prabudho Tavidhir Vigna Tatvasagaraha Tushtava Vedasarena Stotrina Nena Keshavam Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Vriksha Laksha Vriteshu Surabira Pipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrama Sevya Banam Govinda Mari Purusham Hamaham Bhajami Venum Kanantam Aravindam Dalaya Taksham Bharhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandorpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govinda Mari Purusham Hamaham Bhajami Alola Chandrakala Sadvana Malya Vamshi Ratnangadam Pranaya Keli Kalavilasham Shamam Tribangalalitam Niyata Prakasham Govinda Mari Purusham Hamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vritti Manti Pashyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govinda Mari Purusham Hamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Sulamama Dulamama Bhaktao Govinda Mari Purusham Hamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Shatavatsara Samprakamyo Vayodadhapi Manaso Munipun Sopyastiya Praparasimya Vichintya Tatve Govinda Mari Purusham Hamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sauracharitum Jagadanda Kotim Yat Shakti Rasti Jagadanda Chayaya Danta Andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Yadbhava bhavitadiyo manujasta taiva samprapya rupa mahima shayanana bhusha suktaryameva nigama pratitaistu vanti Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Ananda chinmaya rasa pratibhavitavis Dabirya eva nijarupa taya kalabi Goloke eva nivasahya kilatma bhuto Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Premanjana chudita bhakti vilochanena Santaksadeva hridayeshu vilokayanti Yam shama sundarama chintya gunaswarupam Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Ramari muti shukala niyamena tishtan Vataramakaro bhuvaneshu kintu Krishna swayam samabhavat parama pumanyo Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Yasya prabha prabhapato jagadanda koti Koti shashesha vasudari vibhuti bhinam Tad brahma nishkalam anantam ashesha bhutam Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Maya hi yasya jagadanda shatani sute Traigunya tad vishaya veda vitaya mana Sattva-balambi parasattvam vishuddha sattvam Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Ananda chinmaya rasatmataya manasu Ya praninam pratipalam smarutam upetya Lilayatena bhuvanani jayatya jastram Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Golokanamni nijatamni taleta tasya Devi mahesha haridama suteshu teshu Kete prabhava nichaya vihitascha yena Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Shrishti stiti pralaya sarana shakti rekha Chayeva yasya bhuvanani viparti durga Ichchanurupam api yasya cheteshta tesa Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Shiram yatara vikara vishesha yogat Sanjayate nahitatah pratagasti heto Yashambhutam api tata samupaiti karyad Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Diparchareva hidashandaramabhyupetya Lilayatena bhuvanani dharma Evahicha vishnu chaya vibhati Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Yakaranarnava jale bhajati sma yoga Nidramananta jagadanda saroma kupaha Adhara shaktim avalamya param smamurtiyam Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Yashaika nishvashita kalamatavalamya Jivanti loma vilaja jagadannanata Vishnur mahansa ihayasya kala vishesho Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Panyatasma sakaleshu nijeshu teja Swiyam kiya prakatayat tapitadvadatra Brahmaya esha jagadanda vidhana karta Govindamari purusham dhamaham bhajami. Yakpada pallava yugam benidaya kumbha Dvande pranama samaye saganadi raja Vignan binhantam alamasya jagatrayasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Ganamamu Murudishascha Kalastata Mamanasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vishanti Yamcha Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yat Shakshudesha Savita Sakalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramuti Rashesha Tejaha Yasyagnaya Brahmati Sambrata Kala Chakro Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Nota Papa Nichaya Shrutayasta Pamsi Brahmari Kita Pataka Badayascha Jiva Yadatra Matra Vibhava Prakata Prabhava Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Swindra Gopamata Vendra Mohosa Karma Bandhana Rupa Palabhajanama Tunoti Karmani Nirdahati Kintu Cha Bhakti Bhajam Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayadi Bhiti Vatsalya Moha Guru Gaurava Sevya Bhavai Sanchintya Tassa Sadrashim Dhanama Purete Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Sri Akanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Druma Bhumishchintamani Karamaitoyamamratam Kata Ganam Natyam Gamanam Apibam Shri Priyasaki Chiranandam Jyoti Paramapi Taraswadyam Apicha Sayatra Shiradhi Sravati Surabhipyasya Sumaham Me Shardhyakyo Vavratati Nahi Atrapi Samayaha Vaje Shweta Dvipam Tamaham Iha Golokamitiyam Vidantaste Shantakshiti Viralachara Katipaye Ato Vacha Mahavishnu Bhagavantam Prajapatim Brahman Mahatma Vignane Praja Sarge Chachinmatihi Panchashloki Mimam Vidyam Vatsadapam Nibodhame Prabhude Jnana Bhakti Vyam Maya Nanda Chinmayi Udeti Nitama Bhaktir Bhagavat Prema Lakshana Pramanais Tatsaracharais Tarabhyase Narantaram Bodhayanatmanatmanam Bhaktimapyutamam Labed Yasya Shreyaskaram Nasti Yaya Nivritimapnuyad Yasariyati Mameva Bhaktim Tameva Sadayed Dharmananyan Parityaja Mamekam Bhaja Vishwasan Yadrishi Adrishi Shraddha Siddhir Bhavati Tadrishi Nurvandirantaram Karma Loko Yam Manavartate Tenarva Karmanadhyayam Mamparam Bhaktamishati Aham hi Vishwasya Chara Charasya Bijam Pradanam Prakritihi Pumamsha Maya Hitam Teja Idam Bibarshi Vide Videhi Tomato Jaganti Ishvaraha Parama Krishna Sakchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Iti Sri Brahma Sanghita Sampurnam Hari Om Shri Shri Radhamadan Mohan Ji Ki Jai. Can you give me the Krishna book, please? Krishna, 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 Krishna 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 Hey, Krishna 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 Krishna, Krishna 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 Hey, Krishna 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 Krishna, Krishna 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 Hey, Krishna 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna Rakshamam. Krishna 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna Pahimam. Rama Raghava Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava Rakshama. Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava Pahima. Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava Pahima. Chapter 6, Krishna book, Putana killed. When Nanda Maharaj was returning home, he considered Vasudev's warning that there might be some disturbance in Gokula. Certainly the advice was friendly and not false, so Nanda thought, there is some truth in it. Therefore, out of fear, he began to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is quite natural for a devotee in danger to think of Krishna because he has no other shelter. When a child is in danger, he takes shelter of his mother or father. Similarly, a devotee is always under the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but when he specifically sees some danger, he remembers the Lord very rapidly. After consulting with his demonic ministers, Kamsa instructed a witch named Putana, who knew the black art of killing small children by ghastly sinful methods, to kill all kinds of children in the cities, villages, and pasturing grounds. Such witches can play their black art only where there is no chanting or hearing of the holy name of Krishna. It is said that wherever the chanting of the holy name of Krishna is done, even neglectfully, all bad elements, witches, ghosts, and dangerous calamities immediately disappear. And this is certainly true of the place where the chanting of the holy name of Krishna is done seriously, especially in Vrindavan when the Supreme Lord was personally present. Therefore, the doubts of Nanda Maharaj were certainly based on affection for Krishna. Actually, there was no danger from the activities of Putana, despite her powers. Such witches are called Kechari, which means they can fly in the sky. This black art of witchcraft is still practiced by some women in the remote northwestern side of India. They can transfer themselves from one place to another on the branch of an uprooted tree. Putana knew this witchcraft, and therefore she is described in the Bhagavatam as Kechari. Putana entered the county of Gokula, the residential quarter of Nanda Maharaj, without permission, dressing herself like a beautiful woman. She entered the house of Mother Yashoda. She appeared very beautiful, with raised hips, nicely swollen breasts, earrings, and flowers in her hair. She looked especially beautiful on account of her thin waist. She was glancing at everyone with very attractive looks and smiling face, and all the residents of Vrindavan were captivated. The innocent cowherd women thought that she was a goddess of fortune appearing in Vrindavan with a lotus flower in her hand. It seemed to them that she had personally come to see Krishna, who was her husband. Because of her exquisite beauty, no one checked her movement, and therefore she freely entered the house of Nanda Maharaj. Putana, the killer of many, many children, found baby Krishna lying on a small bed, and she could at once perceive that the baby was hiding his unparalleled potencies. Putana thought, this child is so powerful that he can destroy the whole universe immediately. Putana's understanding is very significant. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is situated in everyone's heart. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that he gives one necessary intelligence, and he also causes one to forget. Putana was immediately aware that the child whom she was observing in the house of Nanda Maharaj was the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. He was lying there as a small baby, but that does not mean that he was less powerful. The materialistic theory that God worship is anthropomorphic is not correct. No living being can become God by undergoing meditation or austerities. God is always God. Krishna, as the child baby, is as complete as he is as a full-fledged youth. The Mayavadi theory holds that the living entity was formerly God, but has now become overwhelmed by the influence of Maya. Therefore they say that presently he is not God, but when the influence of Maya is taken away, then he again becomes God. This theory cannot be applied to the minute living entities. The living entities are minute parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are minute particles or sparks of the Supreme Fire, but are not the original fire, or Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even from the beginning of his appearance in the house of Vasudeva and Devaki. Krishna showed the nature of a small boy and closed his eyes as if to avoid the face of Putana. This closing of the eyes is interpreted and studied in different ways by the devotees. Some say that Krishna closed his eyes because he did not like to see the face of Putana, who had killed so many children and who had now come to kill him. Others say that something extraordinary was being dictated to her, and in order to give her assurance, Krishna closed his eyes so that she would not be frightened. And yet others interpret in this way: Krishna appeared to kill the demons and give protection to the devotees. As is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam. The first demon to be killed was a woman. According to Vedic rules, the killing of a woman, a Brahmin, cows, or of a child is forbidden. Krishna was obliged to kill the demon Putana, and because the killing of a woman is forbidden according to Vedic Shastra, he could not help but close his eyes. Another interpretation is that Krishna closed his eyes because he simply took Putana to be his nurse. Putana came to Krishna just to offer her breast for the Lord to suck. Krishna is so merciful that even though he knew Putana was there to kill him, he took her as his nurse or mother. There are 7 kinds of mothers according to the Vedic injunction: the real mother, the wife of a teacher or spiritual master, the wife of a king, the wife of a Brahmin, the cow, the nurse, and the Mother Earth. Because Putana came to take Krishna on her lap and offer her breast's milk to be sucked by him, she was accepted by Krishna as one of his mothers. That is considered to be another reason he closed his eyes. He had to kill a nurse or mother. But his killing of his mother or nurse was no different from his love for his real mother or foster mother Yashoda. We further understand from Vedic information that Putana was so treated as a mother and given the same facility as Yashoda. We further understand from Vedic information that Putana was also treated as a mother and given the same facility as Yashoda. As Yashoda was given liberation from the material world, so Putana was also given liberation. When the baby Krishna closed his eyes, Putana took him on her lap. She did not know that she was holding death personified. If a person mistakes a snake for a rope, he dies. Similarly, Putana killed so many babies before meeting Krishna, but now she was accepting the snake that would kill her immediately. When Putana was taking baby Krishna on her lap, both Yashoda and Rohini were present, but they did not forbid her because she was so beautifully dressed and because she showed motherly affection toward Krishna. They could not understand that she was a sword within a decorated case. Putana had smeared a very powerful poison on her breast, and immediately after taking the baby on her lap, she pushed her breastly nipple within his mouth. She was hoping that as soon as he would suck her breast, he would die. But baby Krishna very quickly took the nipple in anger. He sucked the milk poison along with the life air of the demon. In other words, Krishna simultaneously sucked the milk from her breast and killed her by sucking out her life. Krishna is so merciful that because the demon Putana came to offer her breast milk to him, he fulfilled her desire and accepted her activity as motherly. But to stop her from further nefarious activities, he immediately killed her. And because the demon was killed by Krishna, she got liberation. When Krishna sucked out her very breath, Putana fell down on the ground, spread her arms and legs, and began to cry, "Oh child, leave me, leave me!" She was crying loudly and perspiring, and her whole body became wet. As she died, screaming, there was a tremendous vibration both on the earth and in the sky, in all directions, and people thought that thunderbolts were falling. Thus the nightmare of Putana witch was over, and she assumed her real feature as a great demon. She opened her fierce mouth and spread her arms and legs all over. She fell exactly as Vritrasura when struck by the thunderbolt of Indra. The long hair on her head was scattered all over her body. Her fallen body extended up to 12 miles and smashed all the trees to pieces, and everyone was struck with wonder upon seeing the gigantic body. Her teeth appeared just like plowed roads, and her nostrils appeared just like mountain caves. Her breasts appeared like small hills, and her hair was a vast reddish bush. Her eye sockets appeared like blind wells, and her 2 thighs appeared like 2 banks of a river. Her 2 hands appeared like 2 strongly constructed bridges, and her abdomen seemed like a dried-up lake. All the cowherd men and women became struck with awe and wonder upon seeing this. And the tumultuous sound of her falling shocked their brains and ears and made their hearts beat strongly. When the gopis saw little Krishna fearlessly playing on Putana's lap, they very quickly came and picked him up. Mother Yashoda, Rohini, and other elderly gopis immediately performed the auspicious rituals by taking the tail of a cow and circumambulating his body. The child was completely washed with the urine of a cow, and the dust created by the hooves of the cows was thrown all over his body. This was all just to save little Krishna from future inauspicious accidents. This incident gives us a clear indication of how important the cow is to the family, society, and the living beings in general. The transcendental body of Krishna did not require any protection, but to instruct us on the importance of the cow, the Lord was smeared over with cow dung, washed with the urine of a cow, and sprinkled with the dust upraised by the walking of the cows. After this purificatory process, the gopis, headed by Mother Yashoda and Rohini, chanted 12 names of Vishnu to give Krishna's body full protection from all evil influences. Somebody chant 12 names of Vishnu. Chant. Now someone give us 3 extra. Those are, he just said those ones. Extra ones. Somebody knows the Vishnu Sahasranam? Vishnam Vaisesika Bhuta Bhavya Vavat Prabhu Bhuta Bridbhara Bhutbhavu Bhuta Ma Purpavanaha Bhuta Ma Paramatmacham Muktanam Paramagatihi. Om Vishwam Vishnu Vaisesika Bhuta Bhavya Vavat Prabhu Bhuta Bridbhara Bhutbhavu Bhuta Ma Purpavanaha Bhuta Ma Paramatmacham Muktanam Paramagatihi. There's a few extra. They washed their hands and feet and sipped water 3 times, as is the custom before chanting mantra. They chanted as follows: My dear Krishna, may the Lord who is known as Mahiman protect your thighs. May the Lord who is known as Yagya protect your legs. May Lord Achyuta protect your arms. May Lord Hayagriva protect your abdomen. May Lord Keshava protect your heart. May Lord Vishnu protect your arms. May Lord Arukram protect your face. May Lord Ishvara protect your head. May Lord Chakradhar protect your front. May Lord Gadadhar protect your back. May Lord Madhusudana, who carries a bow in his hand, protect your eyesight. May Lord Vishnu with his conch shell protect your left side. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, may the Personality of Godhead Upendra protect you from above, and may Lord Tarksha protect you from below the earth. May Lord Haladar protect you from all sides. May the Personality of Godhead known as Rishikesh protect all your senses. May Lord Narayan protect your breath. And may the Lord of Shwetadeep, Narayan, protect your heart. May Lord Yogeshwar protect your mind. May Lord Prishnagarbha protect your intelligence. And may the Supreme Personality of Godhead protect your soul. While you are playing, may Lord Govinda protect you from all sides. And when you are sleeping, may Lord Madhava protect you from all danger. When you are working, may the Lord of Vaikuntha protect you from falling down. When you are sitting, may the Lord of Vaikuntha give you all protection. And while you are eating, may the Lord of all sacrifices give you all protection. This is the rasa in Vrindavan. They see Krishna as their little child. And rather than praying to God the Father, please protect us, they're saying, oh, Lord, please protect our little child. But he's actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is their bhava. Thus, Mother Yashoda began to chant different names of Vishnu to protect the child Krishna's different bodily parts. Mother Yashoda was firmly convinced that she should protect her child from the different kinds of evil spirits and ghosts, namely Dakshinis, Yatudanis, Kushmandas, Yakshas, Rakshasas, Vinayakas, Kotara, Revati, Jeshta, Putana, Matrikas, Unmadas, and similar other evil spirits who cause persons to forget their own existence and give trouble to the life air and the senses. Sometimes they appear in dreams and cause much perturbation. Sometimes they appear as old women and suck the blood of small children. But all such ghosts and evil spirits cannot remain where there is chanting of the holy name of God. Mother Yashoda is firmly convinced of the Vedic injunctions about the importance of cows and the holy name of Vishnu. Therefore she took all shelter in the cows and the name of Vishnu just to protect her child Krishna. She recited all the names of Vishnu so that he might save the child. Vedic culture has taken advantage of keeping cows and chanting the holy name of Vishnu since the beginning of history, and persons who are still following the Vedic ways, especially the householders, keep at least 12 cows and worship the deity of Lord Vishnu, who is installed in their house. Do you have 12 cows? Yes. We should come see them later. The elderly gopis of Vrindavan were so absorbed in affection for Krishna that they wanted to save him, although there was no need to, for he had already protected himself. They could not understand that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead playing as a child. After performing the formalities to protect the child, Mother Yashoda took Krishna and let him suck her own breasts. When the child was protected by Vishnu mantras, Mother Yashoda felt that he was safe. In the meantime, all the cowherd men who went to Mathura to pay tax returned home and were struck with wonder at seeing the gigantic dead body of Putana. Nanda Maharaj recalled the prophecy of Vasudeva and considered him a great sage and mystic yogi. Otherwise, how could he have foretold an incident that happened during his absence from Vrindavan? After this, all the residents of Raja cut the gigantic body of Putana into pieces and piled it up with wood for burning. When all the limbs of Putana's body were burning, the smoke emanating from the fire created a good aroma. This aroma was due to her being killed by Krishna. This means that the demon Putana was washed of all her sinful activities and attained a celestial body. Here is an example of how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all good. Putana came to kill Krishna, but because he sucked her milk, she was immediately purified, and her dead body attained a transcendental quality. Her only business was to kill small children. She was only fond of blood. But in spite of being envious of Krishna, she attained salvation because she gave her milk to him to drink. So what can be said of others who are affectionate to Krishna in the relationship of mother or father? The pure devotees always serve Krishna with great love and affection, for he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the supersoul of every living entity. It is concluded, therefore, that even a little energy expended in the service of the Lord gives one immense transcendental profit. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, Swalpam apyasya dharmasya. Devotional service in Krishna consciousness is so sublime that even a little service to Krishna, knowingly or unknowingly, gives one the greatest benefit. The system of worshiping Krishna by offering flowers from a tree is also beneficial for the living entity who is confined in the bodily existence of that tree. When flowers and fruits are offered to Krishna, the tree that bore them also receives much benefit, indirectly. The archana process or worshipping procedure is therefore beneficial for everyone. Krishna is worshipable by great demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva, and Putana was so fortunate that the same Krishna played in her lap as a little child. The lotus feet of Krishna, which are worshipped by great sages and devotees, were placed on the body of Putana. People worship Krishna and offer food, but automatically he sucked the milk from the body of Putana. Devotees therefore pray that if simply by offering something as an enemy, Putana got so much benefit, then who can measure the benefit of worshipping Krishna in love and affection? One should only worship Krishna if for no other reason than so much benefit awaits the worshipper. Although Putana was an evil spirit, she gained elevation just like the mother of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is clear that the cows and the elderly gopis who offered milk to Krishna were also elevated to the transcendental position. Krishna can offer anyone anything, from liberation to anything materially conceivable. Therefore, there cannot be any doubt of the salvation of Putana, whose bodily milk was sucked by Krishna for such a long time. And how can there be any doubt about the salvation of the gopis who were so fond of Krishna? Undoubtedly, all the gopis and cowherd boys and cows who served Krishna in Vrindavan with love and affection were liberated from the miserable condition of material existence. When all the inhabitants of Vrindavan smelled the good aroma from the smoke of the burning Putana, they inquired from each other, "Where is this good flavor coming from?" And while conversing, they came to understand that it was the fumes of the burning Putana. They were very fond of Krishna, and as soon as they heard that the demon Putana was killed by Krishna, they offered blessings to the little child out of affection. After the burning of Putana, Nanda Maharaj came home and immediately took up the child on his lap and began to smell his head. In this way, he was quite satisfied that his little child was saved from this great calamity. Srila Shukadev Goswami has blessed all persons who hear the narration of the killing of Putana. They will surely attain the favor of Govinda. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 6th chapter of Krishna, Putana killed. Hare Krishna. Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago, Goda Chandra Bole. This song is by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Jeev Jago. Jago means to awaken. So he's saying, Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago, Goda Chandra Bole. That Lord Gauranga is calling out to the sleeping souls, wake up, sleeping souls, wake up, sleeping souls. Kota nidra jao maya pisachira kole. Kota nidra jao maya pisachira kole. So he says, how long, he's asking, how long are you going to sleep in the lap of the witch Maya? Maya Pisachari. We heard Pisachari just now about the witch Pisachari. So he says, you're sleeping in the lap of the witch Maya. You've taken shelter in the wrong place. So how long are you going to sleep in that position? Bhaji boboli aeshe shankshara pitare. Bhaji boboli aeshe pitare. Bhajibo, I will certainly worship the Lord. Bulia, saying, Eshe, having come, Samsara Bhitare, into the material world. So he's referring here that the child in the womb comes to consciousness and says, when I come out, I will certainly worship you. This is mentioned in the teachings of Lord Kapiladev to his mother, that the fortunate jiva in the womb actually comes to see Krishna and understand that I'm a jiva, I have nothing to do with this material world, but somehow I've been caught in this cycle of samsara. I'm being recycled over and over again from one birth to the next. And now he becomes aware of his horrible situation, that he's caught in this situation. And he says to the Lord, please let me stay in the womb, because at least here I can remember you. When I come out, I'll forget everything. And I just want to be your servant. Everyone has some remembrance of this kind of situation, as there's a saying that there are no atheists in foxholes. Someone says, I don't care for God, or even those who do care for God may become lax in their remembrance of Him. But then when there's some danger or some very serious situation, then immediately I think, oh, Krishna, Krishna, okay, please, now I'll be good. If you just get me out of this one, I'll always worship you. So this is the nature of someone in the material world, and the soul in the womb becomes very conscious of Krishna and promises, I will always worship you. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Kapila Dev, gave these same instructions to his mother. And now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Bhuliya rohile tumi abhijara pare. Bhuliya rohile tumi abhijara pare. Bhuliya means forgotten. Rohile tumi, you have remained. Abhijara pare, in the darkness of ignorance. So, although you've made this promise to Krishna many times, now you've come out into this world and you've gone on with your own business. You've forgotten Krishna's business. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya is calling out to us that you've given so